Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the glycemic index. So the glycemic index is really important for you to understand in maintaining your weight throughout the rest of your life and understanding a little bit about why to avoid certain foods when you're on plan. So when you're in your weight loss phase, we're taught that you're supposed to eat foods on the low glycemic index. So the glycemic index is basically an indicator from 1 to 100 of foods and how they affect your blood sugar. So you want foods that are on the lower end of the glycemic index. If you ever have a question about where a food is at on the glycemic index, you can actually type in, for example, where is brown rice at on the glycemic index into your web browser or whatever, and it will pull up and give you the score of your whatever type of food it is you're looking at. You want to avoid foods that, or not necessarily avoid them, just don't eat them all the time. Foods that are higher than 50 on the glycemic index, because they affect your blood sugar more. And we know through this program that when your blood sugar spikes or drops, that's when your body releases that insulin, and then your body stores any insulin that's not used as fat. So it's important to try to keep your blood sugar stable throughout the day, even when you're not on plan. And you do that by getting foods that are on the lower end of the glycemic index. So I want to give you some examples of some lower to higher foods on the glycemic index. So I'm going to give you fruits. Fruits I'm going to use as an example. So fruits that are low on the glycemic index are olives, avocados, limes, lemons, raspberries, blackberries, grapefruits, cherries, and tomatoes. All of those are low. They have about a score of about 30 on the glycemic index. And then you have apples, nectarines, peaches, pears, strawberries, oranges, apricots, plums, and figs. And those are a little bit higher up. Those are like mid-range, and those are at about 50 on the glycemic index. And then you have fruits that are high on the glycemic index, and these are in the 50s. So these fruits, even if you're on like the performance plan, should be avoided if possible, just while you're in the weight loss phase. And they're apricots, bananas, blueberries, cantaloupe, kiwi, grapes, mango, melon, pineapple, and watermelon. And these have a score of 50 on the glycemic index. So those higher end ones should be avoided while you're on plan if possible. And then even as optional healthy snacks for those that are able to have those in their plan. But then once you're off plan, you can have those in moderation, the higher end ones. Just try to get the mid-range to the lower ones in most of your diet for your fruits. And you can have the other ones sometimes as well. Just keep in mind that they are a little bit higher on the glycemic index. So don't have them as often, or don't have as many of them. And that's really important, I feel like, to understand, because you get off plan and you're like, oh, I can have fruits, I can have vegetables. And it's important for us to understand which fruits are best and which vegetables are best, and which ones you can still have, just have a little bit less of. So that's just an example of some fruits. I'm going to go over the vegetables really quick, and then we're going to be done after this portion. But I think it's really important for clients to understand this aspect of understanding that there are some healthy foods that are healthier or better for you than others, and to try to incorporate those more often. So with your vegetables, here is, it's just basically two categories on this. So you've got your low end glycemic index vegetables, which are zucchini, spinach, peppers, onions, mushrooms, lettuce, alfalfa sprouts, artichoke, oh, I love artichoke, arugula, asparagus, fennel, cucumbers, cabbage, squash, Brussels sprouts, bell peppers, broccoli, chives, leeks, celery, cauliflower, and chili peppers. And those are 15 or less actually on the glycemic index. And then there's eggplants, raw carrots, and green beans have about 20 to 30 on the glycemic index. And high glycemic index foods are peas, taro, corn, red beets, and carrots. Cooked carrots actually have a higher glycemic index than raw carrots. So those are, I think, some important things for you to understand as to why you're supposed to avoid certain vegetables when you're on plan, and certain fruits for your healthy snacks right now when you're on plan. When you get off plan, eat as many fruits and vegetables as you want. Just be more aware of which ones are a little bit higher on the glycemic index and which ones are a little bit lower. Last but not least, we're going to go over, I want to really quickly show you what your plate should look like after you're off plan, to kind of give you an idea of when you're going to eat, like, okay, well, this is how my plate should look. So I'm going to show you really quick this, and I'll show you the name of this book. This is what your plate should look like when you're off plan. So you've got your, there's my heavy finger, your vegetables and fruits should be 50% of your plate, so half of your plate. And then a quarter of it should be proteins, and then a quarter of it should be starches. And some of your starches are like sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, that kind of stuff. So those are just some examples of your starches. Or carbohydrates. See how it says carbohydrates underneath it. And then this book, which is an excellent resource, is called Dr. A's Habits of Health. He's actually the one that helped come up with Optavia. He is the founder of the company, and so this is a great resource for you when you get off of plan. You can get it now and study it. That's what I did. But you don't have to get it now, but I suggest getting it before you're off plan, and it just has some really great options and knowledge in here for you for when you're off plan. So keep that in mind. I hope you learned a little bit from the video about what the heck the glycemic index is.